Hello aspirants, welcome to CSAT FIT Course. In this class, we are going to discuss about true and false statement based questions. See, if we see, these are new type of questions UPSC is focusing. In CSAT 2023 paper, two questions are based on this model. See, this is question 77 and this is question 78 of UPSC CSAT 2023 paper. So, if we see, similar type of questions can be asked in following years in 2024, 2025, etc. So, let's understand how to solve these kind of questions in this class. See, I will be solving these two questions and one more question which is asked in some state PCS question, right? So, generally I am facing difficulty in getting these kind of questions. कोई book में मिल नहीं रहा है. So, if you find any questions, then you can send me those questions through my mail. So, now let's understand the questions. See, consider the following statements in respect to 5 candidates P, Q, R, S and T. Two statements are true. See, these are true statements and one statement is false regarding 5 candidates, that is P, Q, R, S and T. Regarding 5 candidates, two true statements are given. So, first we will consider the true statements. So, first true statement is P and Q was selected for the job. See, one of P and Q was selected for the job. See, that is among P and Q, one are selected. So, one are selected. So, that is one is selected. So, this can be either P or Q. Okay. Either, see, one of P and Q was selected for the job. So, that means one are selected. So, among P and Q, one is selected. So, that one is either P can be selected or Q can be selected, right? So, then next true statement is at most two of R, S and T. See, among R, S and T, at most two of R, S and T were selected for the job. That is, see, at most two. See, what does at most two means? At most two are selected from the job. That means at most two means it can be either 0, or it can be 1, okay, or it can be 2. So, at most 2, maximum 2, at most 2 and 1 can also be selected or 0 can be selected. So, that means among P, S and T, no one is selected. See, that is 0 means no one is selected. Okay, no one is selected. So, at most 2 means no one is selected. Then 1 is what? See, 1 is in P, S and T, 1 are selected. So, that is see, R, S and T. So, that is R can be selected or S can be selected or T can be selected. So, at most 1. So, that is R can be selected, S can be selected or T can be selected. So, 3 possibilities are there. And then at most 2 selected. So, 2 selection is like R, S can be selected or S, T can be selected or R, T can be selected. So, at most 2. So, these are the possible selections. At most 2 of, so at most 2 means either 0 or 1 or 2 can be selected. That is what we need to see. Then one false statement is given. So, false statement is got at least one of, see, false statement is what? That is at least one of R and S was selected. So, at least one. So, at least one means 1 or 0. At least 1 means 1 or 2. At least one of R and S, that means 1 or 2. That is, so this is what? 1 is what? R is selected, okay, or S is selected, right? At least 1 or at least 1 means at least 1 तो है but 2 भी हो सकता है. So, 2 is R and S are selected. R is selected और S is selected, R and S is selected, ठीक है. So ये possibilities है. और ठीक at least one of R and S. So that means if R is selected, then S is not selected, ये भी possibility है. R S is selected, then R is not selected, ये भी possibility है, ठीक है. सिर्फ R select हो सकता है, सिर्फ S select हो सकता है. That's what this means. S or R means R is selected, S is not selected. So here R is selected and S is also selected. Now see, this is the statement, we got it. So but this is false statement. So if this is false, then to make it true statement, then what we can say? See this is false, right? See, from false statement we got. So false statements में what we got is, ठीक है, R can be selected, comma S can be selected, or R and S can be selected. This is what we got it. So this is from false statement, right? Then true statement is what? True statement is R is not selected. By false statement ये है, ठीक है. True statement is opposite of the statement. That means R is not selected, S is not selected. Then R and S is also not selected. That means both R and S are not selected. So this is the true statement. So we got false statement को भी we have converted into true statement. So these are the true statements, we got it. ठीक है. So now we need to this, which of the following conclusions can be drawn? Conclusions can be drawn. Now conclusions, at least 4 were selected for the job. See, if we see at least 4. See, if we see here, among P and Q, either P is selected or Q is selected. So among P and Q, only one is selected. ठीक है, one is selected. And among R, S and T, it can be 0, or it can be 1, or it can be 2. So if 0 is selected among R, S and T, that means only 1 is selected. And 1 is selected among R, S and T, that means 1 plus 1, 2 are selected. And if 2 are selected, that means only 3 are selected. So at least 4 were selected for the job. No, at least minimum selected is 1 and maximum selected is 3. So this statement is incorrect, because not at least 3, no, at least 1 is selected for the job. At least 1. अगर minimum at least 1 is selected and maximum is 3. So at least 4 selected is incorrect option, right? Then let's say S was selected for the job. So see, S was selected for the job. See, अगर ये भी case possible है, right? See, at most, see 0, none is selected for the job. See here, none is selected for the job. See, S is, see, at most 2. So this case is also possible. And ये भी possible है, 1 में भी हो सकता है R selected हो सकता है T selected हो, ठीक है. So S was selected for the job. No, we cannot say it. S is not selected for the job. See, in fact, even 2 में भी, अगर इन तीनों में से 2 भी select किया, हो सकता है भाई R and T select हुआ, तो S is not selected. So we can also not conclude this one also. So both the statements are incorrect. So option D, neither 1 nor 2 is the correct answer. Neither 1 nor 2 is the correct answer. So now let's see the next question. That is, see, this is question asked in UPSC CSAT 2023. So this is, let P, Q, R, S and T be the 5 statements such that, see, this is another type of question. That is, if P is true. So now let's see this. See, question is, so statement 1 is saying, that is, if P is true, then both Q and S are true. That means अगर P true है, that means Q भी true होगा and S भी true होगा. Both Q and S are true. See here, and means both Q भी true होगा and S भी true होगा. Then from statement 1 we got this, and from statement 2 is what? See, if R and S are true, then T is false. That means if R and S मतलब both true है, if R is true and S is true, then T is false. So T is false. If R and S are true, then T is false. R and S are true, then T is false. That is what given. So now ये आ गया false वाला, ठीक है. Now which of the following can be concluded? See, that is if T is true, see here T false है, ठीक है. So T false तब है then R and S are true. So अगर T is true, if T is true, that means 3 cases are possible. 3 cases will be possible. T true तभी हो सकता है when R and S both are false. भाई जब R and S both true है तभी T false है, ठीक है. अब T true है तो R and S both false, or the second case is T is true when either of R is true and S is false, or third case is if S is true and R is false. S is true and R is false, ठीक है. ये भी third possible case है. So T is true, T can be true when either of this case. See, when R is false and S is also false, then T can be true, because either false तभी हो सकता है. Then see, T can be false when R and S are true. So T can be true when in all the 3 cases. So first case, second case and third case. In all the 3 cases it is possible. So if T is true, then at least one of P and R must be false. See, at least one of P and R must be false. See, P and R, see, R is false, ठीक है, इस केस में, and R is false, ठीक है, in this case. Now let's look at P and R. See, here R is true, but if R is true, then S is false, ठीक है. Then from the statement, ठीक है, see, from this statement, see, in this condition, see, to know the link between P and R and S, so we can use this statement with this one, right? See, देखो, if R is true and S is false, ठीक है, if and when S is true, ठीक है, Q and S is true. जैसे R false होगा, ठीक है, जैसे R false, S false होगा, ठीक है, S false means from this case if S is false then P will be false, because see, P is true when Q and S both are true. When S is false, which is the case here, that means S is false means P will be false, because P is true only when Q and S are true, ठीक है. S is false means then P is also false. So if T is true, by T true है, ठीक है, then at least one of P and R, P false है, अगर R true है तो P false होगा. So at least one of P and R must be false. So this is correct answer. Then आता है if Q is true then P is true. If Q is true then P is true. See, look at this statement. Look at the first statement. So this one. So if P is true, see, statement क्या दिया हुआ हमें? If P is true, then both Q and S are true. Both Q and S are true. So Q is true and S is true. If P is true, then both Q and S are true. Okay. Now, if Q is true, then P is true. भाई अब Q true है, ठीक है, हो सकता है, we cannot say this because Q can be true, but if S is false, then P will be false, ठीक है. So here Q is true, but if S is false, then P will be false. So this statement we cannot conclude. So only one is correct answer. So option A, only one is the correct answer, right? So now let's see next question. See, this is question asked in state PCS exam. See, question is P, Q, R and S be 4 statements. Relation between these statements is as follows. P, Q, R and S. P, Q, R and S are 4 statements. Relation between these statements is as follows. So that means from statement 1, if P is true, then Q must be true. then if Q is true, then R must be true. If Q is true, then R must be true. Then third statement, if S is true, then either Q is false, or R is false. So if S is true, ठीक है, Q is false or R is false, ऐसा भी हो सकता है. If S is true, that means Q false and R true. ये भी तो हो सकता है. This means see, if S is true, then Q is false. Either Q is false, Q is false and R can be true. This is the second case. Then ये भी तो हो सकता है. So Q is true and R is false. Q is true and R is false. So these are the three cases. Q is true and R is false. Okay. So if S is true, then either of Q is false or R is false. ठीक है, R is false. दोनों false हो सकता है या either one of them has to be the false. So now which of the following must be true? So that is, if P is true, then S is false. See, if P is true, so P is true, that means Q is true. If P is true, that means Q is true. If Q is true, then R is true, and R is true. So if R is true, ठीक है, so if R is true, ठीक है, which of the following must be true? If R is true, so R is true, then S is false. ठीक है, if R is true, so see, S is true. If P is true, see, if P is true, then Q has to be true and R has to be true. ठीक है, see, if both Q and R is true, ठीक है, if both Q and R is true, see, here Q is true and R is true, because if P is true, then Q is true, and if Q is true, then R is true. Both Q and R is true. अगर Q and R true है, ठीक है, then S is false. because अगर S true है तो ये इन्हीं तीन सिचुएशन में, जैसे both Q and R is true, then S becomes false. ठीक है, so S becomes false. So this is the correct one, because if P is true, then Q is true, and if Q is true, then R is true. That is what we are given. ठीक है, that is what we are given. These are given. Then when P is true, Q is true, and R is true, then S has to be false, because when Q and R are true, when both Q and R are true, then S cannot be true. So S can be true when either of Q and R are false. ठीक है, ये दोनों false हो तब S true होगा. ठीक है, Q और R ये false हो तब S true होगा. So ये हो गया. Then let's check next question also. See, if S is false, then Q must be true. देखो, if S is false, ठीक है, see here in this case S is false, then Q must be true. See, अब देखो, see here S is true, and see S is false, S can be false, then Q must be true. If S is false, see, S can be false when Q is true or R is true. S can be false when, see, S is true when either of Q is false or R is false. ठीक है, S is true. So S can be false when Q is true or R is true, or S can be false when Q is true or R is false, or S can be false when Q is false or R can be true. इस केसेस में हो सकता है S is false. So if S is false, then Q must be true. No, see here Q is false, so this is incorrect. Then if Q is true, then P must be true. सी हियर हमें दिया P इज ट्रू देन Q मस्ट बी ट्रू, उल्टा कभी वो नहीं हो सकता, बिकॉज सी इफ Q इज ट्रू देन P कैन बी ट्रू और P कैन बी फॉल्स, ठीक है, बट if P is true then Q must be true. See, that cannot say Q is true है तो P भी true होगा, so ये incorrect. Then if R is true, see if R is true then Q must be true. If R is true then Q must be true. No, Q can be incorrect also. But अब ये दिया if Q is true then R must be true. उल्टा is not same, ठीक है. If R is true then Q can be true or Q can be false also. So this is incorrect. So option A is the correct answer, because if P is true, then Q is true and R is true, and when both Q and R are true, then S is false. So option 1 is the correct answer. See, again these are tricky questions, right? So we need to be very careful to solve these kind of questions. अगर एक बार समझ में आ गया then these are easy, right? So that's it for today's class. Okay, ठीक है. So if you find many more questions based on this type, then you can mail me those questions, then I will try to make more questions, मतलब क्लास में और क्वेश्चंस डिस्कस करूंगा नेक्स्ट टाइम इस टॉपिक डिस्कस करूंगा. तो so that's it for today's class. See you in the next class. Bye. Thank you.